thank you very much. And thank you very much to Charlie. I'm thrilled to be back with the proud young conservative patriots of Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA. And I want to thank our good friend Charlie Kirk for everything that he's done to build Turning Point. It's incredible what he's done in a very short period of time into one of the most powerful grassroots organizations in the entire nation. It's really timing couldn't be better. Do you agree with that? His newest project for mobilizing early voters will be a difference maker in the next election, and it's going to make it a much more difficult job to cheat, because we're going to swamp them. You know, when you start swamping them. But they cheat. They'll do anything they can because they don't have policies. Open borders, no voter ID, high taxes, high interest rates. The only way they win is by cheating. We're also delighted to be joined by Representatives Matt Gaetz. Where's Matt Gaetz? I love Matt. Where is he? He's great. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. Oh, I'm glad you stayed, Matt. I'd be very disappointed. Now, he's a great gentleman and a brave man, too, I will tell you that. Ana Paulina Luna. Ana, thank you. Very great job. I watched those speeches. Another man that is going places, and he's going places fast. Spectacular person, friend of mine, Byron Donalds. Byron. Thank you, Byron. I can't miss him. Big and strong. A man running as a candidate, Republican candidate. I think he's going to do very well, too. A state that we won by a lot twice, and that's the state of Ohio. We love Ohio, and we love Bernie Moreno. Bernie, where are you, Bernie? Bernie Moreno? Bernie, I hear you're doing well. A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone? And another man, I say maybe I shouldn't be introducing him because he's a consumer man. He's not really a political man, but he turned out to be a very good political man. He understands what's happening. And every time I introduce him, he gets a tremendous applause. Mike Lindell. Mike. Good, Mike. He never lets us down. And speaking of fighters, this is a true fighter. This is a real fighter. This is not a fighter with the lips, the mouth, the teeth. This is the real deal. He's a champion fighter, UFC. He's got a huge fight coming up, one of the biggest. I don't know how the hell they do it, 400, 500 shots to the head. And he's smarter than hell. I mean, how does that work? But he's here with us, champion Colby Covington. Where's Colby? Now, if I ever saw him on the street, I'd say I could take him. But it would be over fast. It would not, if I was trying to impress somebody, it would not be impressive. Colby, thank you and good luck with the fight. We'll try and be there. Great. Thank you very much, Colby. One of the greatest, he has no idea I'm doing this, but that's okay. Because he likes to keep his life private. He's one of the greatest businessmen in America, anywhere in the world, actually. What he's done is unthinkable, unbelievable. He took Marvel from a little company, bought it out of bankruptcy, and made it into one of the biggest, most powerful movie companies anywhere in the world. One of the largest owners of Disney stock. I don't think he's thrilled with the woke Disney, but I read today where they're going the other way now. That's good. But his name is Ike Perlmutter, and he's a spectacular man. Just spectacular. Where's Ike? Where is he? Got to be around here someplace. He wants no adulation either. He just loves working and employing lots of people. But he's done many, many companies, and he's been one of the most successful businessmen on the planet. 16 months from now, each of you will vote in the most important election of your lifetimes. This will be the most important election. With your country, your freedom, and your future on the line, we are in trouble. This country is in trouble. The election will decide whether your generation inherits a fascist country or a free country, whether you will have a rule of tyrants or the rule of law, whether Marxist radicals burn our civilization to the ground, which they're looking to do, or young patriots like you propel America to glorious new heights greater than ever before. Side by side, we're going to fight and we're going to win. We have no choice, actually. We're going to evict crooked Joe Biden. You know, I took the name off of Hillary. You know that, right? Everybody here knows that. It was crooked Hillary. I was very successful. But I think she's out of it now. But no, I thought it was more appropriate because he's crooked as you can get. This is the most dishonest president in history. And I wouldn't have said it. You know, I have pride in the presidency and respect for the presidency. I wouldn't have said it. But I say things about him over the last 3 weeks that I would have never said before about any president. He is a corrupt, horrible, incompetent man, and he's destroying our country, and we have to have it changed. And with God's help, we're going to save America on November 5th, 2024. And when I said originally in 2016, it's the most important election, I meant it. This is far more important. This is far more important because our country is ready to go down, ready to go possibly into World War III, and this won't be a war like others. This will be a nuclear war, and the level of destruction, it's called obliteration. It's not two army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. This is big stuff, and we have a man who's grossly incompetent, who doesn't even know where he is, who can't put two sentences together. And this is the man that's telling us what we're going to be doing. Under Biden, hope and opportunity for young people, so many young people here, are being utterly extinguished. In the Biden economy, 1/3 of Gen Z and millennials have no savings accounts and no saving whatsoever. They have nothing. They have nothing. Home ownership has been pushed out of reach for millions, with the rate of 30-year mortgages up 177% since I left office. And by the way, that's nothing compared to energy, where we were energy independent. And now you look at what's happened to energy. We're getting our energy from Venezuela. You believe that one? Real wages collapsed 26 months in a row. Real wages because of inflation and various other things that are happening. Typical Americans have seen their incomes crushed by $7,400 a year since Biden took office. Think of that, each year, $7,400. That comes out of very, very official offices. This is the number, the biggest pay cut in many decades. Nobody's really seen anything like it, I don't believe. Millions of illegal aliens have stormed across our borders. It's an invasion of our country. That's an invasion just like a military invasion. Our rights and our liberties are being torn to shreds, and your country is being turned into a third world hellhole ruled by censors, perverts, criminals, and thugs. But as I stand here tonight, I know that the young conservative warriors, and you are warriors of Turning Point, will never let this happen. You can't let this happen. Every day you defend our values, and you never yield, and you never will yield to the radical left. That's why you are the ones who are going to take back America. You are the ones who are going to make America great again. From the earliest days of our republic, every generation has been called to defend America. You always have that defend, but people say it not with the bravado that they say it now, because now they really mean it. We're in big trouble. Today, the greatest threat is not from the outside. The greatest threat is the sick, sinister, and evil forces trying to destroy our nation from within. If you have the right leadership, China's not a problem. If you have the right leadership, Russia's not a problem. They would have never done what they did. Believe me, they would have never done. And I spoke to Vladimir. Did you see the other day, 2 days ago, he's talking to the president of Ukraine, and he said, Vladimir, he meant Zelensky. Vladimir over here. Oh, I mean, Vladimir, I'd like to thank you for being here. Oh. Actually, he didn't know he made a mistake. They had to tell him. Your task, your calling, your historic mission is to liberate America from these communists, fascists, Marxists, globalists, and warmongers who want to plunder the future of our country. And that's exactly what we are going to do together when we all together become the 47th President of the United States of America. Thank you very much. And by the way, Charlie told me this is the biggest crowd they've ever had, and they had a larger room because there are a lot of people outside that filled that. This is the biggest crowd. And I think you loved our 4 years, but I also think you've watched the last 3 years, and you draw a comparison, it makes it even more so. But I do appreciate it, but it's a record crowd, and that's great. And I'm very happy for Turning Point and Charlie and everybody else. They've come a long way. They've come a long way. I will quickly stop Joe Biden's inflation nightmare, worst inflation in many years. They really don't know how many. They say 52, but I think it's much higher than that. Restore energy independence and bring down interest rates so that young people can once again afford to buy a house and a car, the basic American dream. The American dream is dead under Biden. We will have the American dream back very soon. We will rapidly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had that. We did it twice. I did it the first time, and then we had COVID come in, a gift from China the day before COVID came, and we had a higher stock market despite the hell that the whole world had to go through because of what came out of the Wuhan labs. And I used to say that, the Wuhan labs, they used to censor me. They used to say, oh, that's terrible. It turned out to be we were right. We were right about a lot of things. We're right about almost everything, maybe everything. But we'll do that once again. After 50 years of leftist domination of the universities, I will take bold action to reclaim our colleges from the communist left. Anti-American radicals will no longer be given a free hand to dominate our institutions of higher education. Using my leverage, and it's a tremendous leverage, and I used it before very well. We put penalties on them if they wouldn't let conservatives or anybody speak. Big, big penalties. All of a sudden, everybody was invited to speak. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you sort of felt it. But it was very good. But it was somewhat artificial because they were doing it because they would have had huge monetary penalties. But at least we were getting the word out. Everybody should be able to speak. But using my leverage over college accreditors, we are going to choke off the money to schools that aid the Marxist assault on our American heritage and on Western civilization itself. The days of subsidizing communist indoctrination in our colleges will soon be over. And I will say this is I would say, very largely conservative group. I call it common sense group because I think a lot of conservatism is common sense. When they ask you for a definition, it starts with common sense. But I tell them very often that you will be shocked to see colleges, even the ones that you hear are most liberal. We have tremendous numbers of people out there. I think even more. They don't speak up as much, but they're starting to speak up. When you see Bud Light and when you see all of the things that have happened, I mean, you take a look at that. They're down 37%. The company is, nobody's ever seen it. And the radical left has always used that. They've used their buying power. They'd sort of name a company and go after a company. We've never done it. That just happened by osmosis, actually, but it's also happening. I heard Target mentioned today and various others. And we have tremendous power to make sure that our country goes down the right tracks. We're going to smash the Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracies that are driving up tuition costs and sticking you with crushing debt, And for any universities that want federal student loan dollars, we will also require them to offer real job placement and career services, as well as options for accelerated and low-cost degrees. These institutions have gone up. The pricing has gone up more than just about any industry. You look at their costs, and they drive them up because the federal government gives loans to everybody, so it's more expensive, but somebody has to pay back that loan, except under Biden, but the Supreme Court decided that that wasn't going to happen. My administration will strictly enforce last month's landmark Supreme Court decision to move our country forward with a merit-based system of education. In other words, if you get great marks and if you've worked hard and you did all of the things, you're going to get into that college. Somebody with half of the energy and the marks and all of the things necessary to get in, that's what we have to have. We have to have our absolute most brilliant people. This is such a competitive world. We have to have our most brilliant people going to the most brilliant schools and universities, and now that's what we have. These are some of the things that we've done for this country, and they are big, and a lot of them people didn't think would happen. And if colleges persist in continuing to violate your civil rights, we will have their endowments severely taxed and fined, and a portion of the seized funds used as restitution for the victims of these racist practices. They're really racist practices. In addition, I want to close the Department of Education and move education back to the states where it belongs and where parents have total control of their children's lives. That's a big thing. You know, we have the worst education system just about in the world. We spend more per student by double and triple than any other country, and yet we're ranked at the bottom of the list. Like out of a group of 40 nations, we're 38, 39, and yet we're double and triple per pupil the cost. We're going to move it back to the states, let the states, we'll have a little tiny little, just to make sure they're teaching everybody English, you know, a little bit of guide. We want to make sure they're teaching English, but a little tiny coordination, but not much. Like how about an office the size of this podium, one person. Nevada, you got to do a little bit better. No, we're going to do a job. We're going to do a job, and we're going to have great education. And, you know, it's much more pinpointed this way also, and the parents can be much more involved. It's not this big bureaucracy. And then we'll be able to sell all those buildings that are occupied right now for so much money. So much money. Pay off debt. Pay off a lot of the debt, and we have plenty of it. Under my leadership, we will bring back free speech in America. Just last week, we've had some amazing rulings, you know that. Just last week, in a historic ruling, a brilliant federal judge ordered the Biden administration to cease and desist from their illegal and unconstitutional censorship in collusion with social media. And we're leading Biden by a lot. In the recent echelon poll of swing states, we're up by 7 points over Biden. You know, it doesn't sound, it's actually a lot, but it doesn't sound like much. You know, they have a natural advantage. They have certain states, rigged or not, I don't know, we'll figure that out at some point. But they have certain states, and it's 7's a lot, but we have another poll. We're up 10, we're up 11, we're up 9, and we're up 12. That's a lot, you know, hard to believe. That's a lot. You'd almost say, who the hell would vote for this guy? The whole thing is such a mess. But they have a natural constituency. What can I tell you? You know who the constituency is. And a lot of that constituency, like unions as an example, a lot of them are voting for us. Maybe the top guy who's a, you know, natural, taken care of by the Democrats. But I'll tell you, those unions are voting for us. And a lot of people that traditionally don't vote Republican, they're just fed up. You know, they're Democrats, but you have a lot of great people that love our country. They want to make our country great again. They want to make America great again. They're going to vote for us. We had a big turnover and a big crossover in 2016. We have it now too. We had it in 2020. Actually, we had it much more in 2020. We got a hell of a lot more votes than we did in 2016. And by the way, in the brand new Florida Atlantic poll, good poll, Atlantic University, we are totally dominating DeSantis right here in the state of Florida. So we want him to get home and take care of insurance because you have the highest insurance in the nation. And the bill that they passed made it very good for the insurance company. All the money that he's using, which now is stopped because all of the people that were supporting him, they're saying, hey, wait a minute, you're down by 57 points. You know, they may like him or they may not, but they don't want somebody that's down 57 points. And, you know, they're not stupid people, they're smart people. In fact, all of a sudden I'm getting calls from people. They're saying, you know, sir, I just called to say hello. I said, I thought you were a DeSantis follower. He goes, no, not at all. That was a false report. It was never that close, by the way. It was never that close, but it was at 21, 22 points. That's a lot different than 50 and 60 points. But running for a hopeless cause is election. It should be used to support the party winning against crooked Joe Biden in November 2024. We got to fight together. We have to all get together and we have to fight. I watched some of those interviews given by Tucker yesterday. Tucker's terrific, and I watched some of the interviews, and I'll tell you, it wasn't a pretty picture. If you watched them, they were bad. I hope you didn't watch because it would like life-ending, career-threatening for those people. Some of them, I won't tell you who, but some of them were really bad. Now is the time. When a guy gets, he's polling at one. One guy, actually, I'm sure it was a typo. Probably it was because so many people vote illegally, so it probably wasn't a typo. He's at 0 with an arrow pointing left. And I say, how the hell does that happen, Matt Gaetz? How does that happen? And you know what happens? It's 0. That's because you have more than one voter. So, you know, you have a family that votes 19 times instead of 2 times. Now is the time when Republicans should be using those funds to build a state-of-the-art vote-gathering operation to swamp the Democrats' cheating and ballot harvesting. Instead, the sanctimonious and his establishment handlers are wasting such precious time and resources to divide the party. They're dividing the party. Although he's dropping so quickly, he's probably not going to be in second place much longer. I wonder who he's going to be. Maybe it's Vivek. Could be. He's doing well. Right when we should be uniting against the unprecedented weaponization of law enforcement by crooked Joe Biden and the communist left. So I took the name Crooked away from Hillary, and we gave her a new name. Beautiful. I call it beautiful. It's just so beautiful. But I took it away because I don't believe in the same name for 2 people. I don't like that. And I've never done this before. You know, I have it, and you have to live with that name for the rest of your life. I'll go over the different names, but I won't, because many of them are now friends of mine, okay? But I took the name Crooked off, and I gave it to Joe Biden because he's so corrupt, okay? So I just think it was better than Sleepy Joe. I came up with Sleepy Joe. Maybe he was less sleepy than we thought. As you know, Biden recently ordered his top political opponent, I think that happens to be me, indicted and arrested right in the middle of a presidential election that Biden is losing very badly. This is a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time, which has been fully exposed in the Durham report, the IG report, by Inspector General Horowitz, who did a fantastic report, and by great writers, journalists, and pundits all over the world, like John Solomon, Lee Smith, Greg Jarrett, Sarah Carter, and so many others. And I have to tell you, they don't get Pulitzers for this, but if you look at people like Sean Hannity, right? Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham has been really good. And I'll tell you what, Tucker Carlson, I used to say, for me, I used to say Tucker's a solid 6 out of 10, but the last year and a half, he was a 10. That's probably why they canned him, right? He was a 10. Now he's been great. Jesse Waters and Megyn Kelly. She was the one that gave me that terrible question where I said only Rosie O'Donnell. Thank God I came up with that. I would have been, because she had plenty of other names going. I didn't like that. The place went crazy. Nobody ever heard the other names, so I considered that a very good answer. But that was a hell of a question. But she has been all, and she's been great. And by the way, not to me. She's been great for the country. She wants our country to survive, so it's not for me. Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really, really terrific. Newsmax has been terrific. Pete Hegseth is great. Rachel Duffy has been great. Will has been great. They have a terrific show. You know, not all of Fox is bad, I will tell you. But there is an attitudinal, right? It's attitudinal. Get Biden to say that, okay? But there's so many others at many different outlets now. They're seeing it, and even people that weren't necessarily with us, they see that we were right, that our country's going to hell in a handbasket, and they want to have a country. They want to have a great country, making people go through hell, destroying their families, doing things that nobody ever thought was possible. And this is really how low they've fallen. This is an attempt to win the 2024 election. And so far, and I hope it continues, but so far it's had the opposite effect. I mean, it's really lifted us to new heights because people know it's all bullshit, okay? They know it. We're showing the world, we're showing the country how bad they are. Open borders, how stupid is open borders. All of these things that they've done to destroy our country so we can actually be more effective in the next 4 years because of it, because it's so bad what they've done. Charging a former president of the United States under the Espionage Act of 1917. This is meant for developing a nuclear weapon in your basement. Is one of the most outrageous and vicious legal theories ever put forward in an American court of law. It's considered one of the meanest, most vicious acts. It's a very, very unfair and horrible act that was passed in 1917, and for many, many years in Congress, they've been trying to get rid of it because it's so heinous, it's so horrible. And by the way, Biden has 1,850 boxes of documents. Many of them are classified, and he's not allowing them to see at University of Delaware. He's got boxes in Chinatown, D.C., Chinatown. He's got boxes at Penn, the Penn Center, where China gives tens of millions of dollars a year and where he makes a lot of money. And he's got boxes under his Corvette on his garage floor with a garage door that you can cut open with a scissor. We know those doors. You lift them up. They advertise them. You lift it up with one hand. This is the protection. And where Hunter lives, I believe that's where Hunter lives. And these are documents. Now, why hasn't he been charged under this act? Why hasn't he? It's probably 30 times the number of documents. And I had the protection. It's not the protection, it's the law, but I had the protection of the Presidential Records Act. And they don't. It's never been used, this act, this heinous, horrible act, has never been used before for this, anything like this. But it shows you how nasty and horrible this administration is. These are nasty, horrible people. The espionage, think of that, the word espionage. The other is called the Presidential Records. That's what it is. It tells you exactly what you have to do. And basically it says the president makes the determination. And it's a civil act. It's not a criminal act. It's a civil act. And it only pertains to the president. So it wouldn't pertain to Biden because he wasn't president when he took all those documents. But why isn't he, think of it, why isn't he charged with espionage? It's really, we have a two-tier, but the people of the country will not stand for it. Under the Presidential Records Act, again, not a civil, this is civil, not a criminal law. It had every right. As president, you have every right to have these documents, personal belongings, and whatever else there is. Joe Biden didn't have the right. Mike Pence, and let's let him go. He had a couple of documents. Let's let him go. Let's let him go. But he didn't have the right either because he wasn't president. It only pertains to the president. They were not covered by the Presidential Records Act, but these scoundrels and thugs, they all come after Trump. Let's go after Trump. You know why? Because we're leading. If we were down in the polls, or if I was not running, if I was in a nice location somewhere getting a beautiful suntan saying, isn't this a beautiful world? But I'm fighting for you. That's all I'm doing. What a life. But I enjoy it because we created, prior to COVID coming in, and then what we did to get it back was incredible. But prior to COVID coming in, created the greatest country ever in history. We had never African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, women, men, people with no diploma, people #1 in their class at Harvard, Wharton, MIT, the best schools. Everybody had a job. And even people on the left were calling me, let's get together. Success can bring the country together. We had the greatest success. That was the most successful period in the history of our country. And when people ask me, because we talk about the left, we talk Marxist, and we talk all this. Do you notice how many people, and they're on my side, so I don't want, but you notice I started using the Marxist and all of fascist. I started putting in certain words into my talks and speeches. Do you notice how many people are now using those words? I noticed coming into the plane, everyone's talking about the Marxists. We've got to stop the Marxists and the fascists, but I don't care if I'm copied because they're right. We got to stop them because they're bad. But I will tell you, during this period of time, I was getting calls from people that we would consider to be Marxists and fascists and others, people that you would not believe, and they wanted to get together. They had never seen anything like it. Everybody was working. We were energy dominant, really. We were getting ready to be, we were going to sell energy to Europe and to all parts of the world. We were at a level that we've never seen. We had $1.87 gasoline. We had everything going. I had Anwar approved. Even Ronald's friend and some of our people, Roger, as an example, big fan of Ronald Reagan, but he tried to get it done. Anwar couldn't get it done. The Bushes, of course, couldn't get it done. They didn't come close. But everybody wanted Anwar. Bigger, perhaps, than Saudi Arabia in terms of liquid gold in Alaska. I got it done. And the first thing they did is canceled it. And they canceled the Keystone Pipeline. And then energy started to go up, and then everything went to hell. And that's what caused the inflation. And we're going to be drilling, and we're going to be doing all sorts of things. And inflation's going to come down rapidly. And the interest rates, therefore, will follow. And we're going to have a country that I think it'll be unprecedented. The one thing we have to do is we have to get a lot of the criminals that have been allowed to come into our country. We have to get them out because we have some bad ones. The crucial legal precedent is laid out in the most important case on the Presidential Records Act ever on this subject, known as the Clinton, that's Bill Clinton, socks case. You know why socks? Because he took it out in his socks. I didn't take it out of my socks. I had boxes piled up in front of the White House, and everybody's taking pictures of them because I wasn't hiding anything. He took it out in his socks. After leaving the White House, Bill Clinton kept 79 audio tapes in his socks and in his sock drawer. That's why it's called the Clinton socks case. They included discussions of U.S. foreign policy options, both defense and offense against Cuba, the recordings of President Clinton's conversations with the biggest foreign leaders then in the world, sensitive facts about trade negotiations taken from presidential briefings, discussions with the Secretary of State about the conflict in Bosnia, which was a tough one, and so much more, really big stuff. Took it out. These were recordings. Took them out in his socks. They found him in his sock drawer. Nothing happened to him. Not only was Bill Clinton never even considered for criminal prosecution based on the tapes he took, but when he was sued for them, the government sued him civilly, not criminally. They didn't say you're going to go to jail under the Espionage Act. But when they sued him, he won the case. Judge Amy Berman Jackson's decision states, and very conclusively, listen to this, quote, under the statutory scheme established by the Presidential Records Act, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential records is made by the president during the term of the president and in the president's sole discretion, not other people. Any normal administration, even an opposing one, would consider that to be the end. That's the end of it. But not when it comes to Trump, and not when it comes to a candidate that's beating their candidate by a lot. This has never been done before. In other words, not the corrupt Biden regime. The Sox decision also states, quote, the National Archives, listen to this, that's NARA, a very left group, by the way. They have the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights red flagged. You know why? Because they consider them to be dangerous documents, okay? This is the group that's after me. The National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, does not have, this is her decision, respected, does not have the authority to designate materials as presidential records. It's not up to them. NARA does not have the tapes in question, and NARA lacks any right, duty, or means to seize control of these tapes. The president enjoys, quote, the president enjoys unconstrained authority to make decisions regarding the disposal of documents. Now, this is a law passed in 1977, Presidential Records Act. Neither the archivist nor Congress has the authority to veto the president's decision. Totally up to the president, which is me. Does not pertain to the vice president or anybody else. The Presidential Records Act does not confer any mandatory or even discretionary authority on the archivist, that's NARA, to classify these records. Under the statute, this responsibility is left solely to the President of the United States, your favorite president, me. They indicted me. Think of it. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand those words. That's very as simple as it gets. They indicted me. In other words, whatever documents a president decides to take with him, he has the absolute and unquestioned right to do so. This is a law that was passed and signed. And I've never seen spirit like this. We've never had, we had great spirit in 2016, and we'd have rallies with 25, 30,000 people. We had a rally the other day in South Carolina where we had over 80,000 people coming on just a few days' notice. It was incredible. And we had great support. Again, we got many millions of more votes the second time. We had tremendous support, tremendous enthusiasm. We have never, ever had enthusiasm. Even look at this crowd. We've never had enthusiasm like we have right now. And a big part of that is you see how bad they're running our country, how incompetent they are, what China's doing to us, what everybody's doing to us. The country is laughing at our leader. They think he's a gross incompetent, that he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's totally corrupt. Other than that, he's doing a wonderful job, isn't he? It's such a sad thing for our country to be represented by this guy. I was watching his recent meetings over in Europe, and he doesn't know where the hell he is. He's on a stage, and he wasn't too sharp 30 years ago, okay? He was not the sharpest one in the pen. Just think of what we already accomplished in 4 incredible years. We delivered the largest tax cuts and regulatory cuts in history. And likewise, we built the greatest economy ever in the history of the world. China was going to catch us for 20 years. 2018, China was going to overtake us. We were doubling up. We were so far ahead of them, they never had a chance. And if we had a smart president, they would never be able to take us. We achieved energy independence, and energy dominance was going to be there right around the corner for the first time in about 78 years. I think probably more than that. I don't think we were ever dominant. We created the most secure border in U.S. history, built nearly 500 miles of border wall. I hear this sloppy Chris Christie guy. He said, Trump only built 47 miles of what not before. Then they checked with the Border Patrol and the people that do that. Almost 500 miles of wall. And remember this. I said Mexico is going to pay for it some way. They gave us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. That's more than any wall. That's more. And they did that for years because while I was building the wall, and Congress fought me tooth and nail, including some Republicans. They fought me like Mitch McConnell. They fought me tooth and nail. And I ended up taking the money out of the military. I took the money out of the military because I considered it an invasion of our country. And we built almost 500 miles of wall. And then I said, we completed that job. And I said, we're going to need some more because people are coming around other areas. So we ordered 200 miles of additional wall. It was ready to be installed. Could have been done in 3 weeks. It was all there. It was all built. The hard part is getting it there and building it and getting it there. And they didn't want it to go up. And that's when I first, believed that they actually want to have an open border. It's so crazy. But we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And that was hard. I like the president of Mexico. He's great. He's a socialist, but you can't have everything, right? But he's a great guy. And they laughed at me when I said, I want you to supply 28,000, that's what we need, soldiers along the border while we're building the wall. And they said, why would we do that? I said, you just have to do it. Please do it. I would appreciate it. We will not do that. I said, well, are you sure? Then they sent a representative to see me at the State Department with a woman that was very good. She worked on Mexico for 25 years. He said, sir, they'll never do that. She'll never do that. They'll never do remain in Mexico. They'll never do catch and release into Mexico. They'll never do any of these things. I said, yes, they will. No, they won't, sir. They won't. I said, yes, they will. You watch. The guy comes in, the top representative comes into the office. I said, we need you to give us 28,000 soldiers for our border, please. He laughed at me, thought I was a fool. And I said, no, don't. If you're going to give me those soldiers. No, we cannot do that, sir. We cannot. How foolish a request. I said, no, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And if you don't do it, on Monday morning, we're going to put a 25% tariff on every single product coming out of Mexico, including cars, 32% of which you stole from the United States. You know, they took 32% of our car manufacturing business by stupid presidents that allowed it to happen. We didn't allow it to happen. Now it's happening again. I hate to tell you, Michigan and all the states that are so good, it's happening again. They're taking the car business. The electric cars are not going to be built here. They're going to be built in China mostly. But I said to him, I'm signing this, 28,000 soldiers, and what's the story? Sir, I'd like to be able to make a call. Do you mind if I come back? So I told him about the 25% tax tariff. And he comes back about 3 minutes later. Sir, we'd be delighted to supply you with 28,000. We would be delighted to give you all the soldiers you want. Please don't do that to us, sir. Please, I beg you. No, he said, we'd be delighted. It would be my great honor to give you 28,000 on behalf of the Mexican government. And these were very good soldiers. They were not politically correct either. They said, you cannot come in. And we had the greatest numbers anywhere. We deported also illegal alien criminals like MS-13 gang members that kill people for fun at a number nobody's ever seen before. Thousands and thousands. I never got enough credit for that whole deal, but we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border, I think, in the history of the world. No country would allow millions of people to just walk across the country. We have no idea who they are. I fully rebuilt the United States military, created Space Force, defeated ISIS, something which they all said you couldn't do. I did it in 4 weeks because we have great generals. We have great generals. We have not the ones that you see on television, the real generals that we have. And we have great generals. And we brought our troops back home. We got them back home. But we defeated ISIS. With your support in 2024, we are going to put America first like never before, and we are going to finish the job that we so successfully started. You know, many people, it was 4 years, but many people say it was one of the most successful presidencies ever. Some people say it was the most successful presidency. When I get back into the Oval Office, I will totally obliterate the deep state. They will be obliterated. And we know all the good ones now. You know, when I went there, I'd only been to Washington 17 times in my life, according to the fake news, and 17 times, and never stayed there. So I wasn't a Washington establishment person, but I didn't know the people. I had to rely on people to give me names. And largely, we got great names. You know, we got the tax cut. We did so much. We rebuilt our military. But there are people that I wouldn't have put there, and I will fire all of these corrupt bureaucrats because now, better than maybe anybody else, I know the great ones, I know the smart ones, I know the dumb ones, I know the weak ones, I know the stupid ones, but I know the ones because I know everybody in Washington. I got a PhD in learning about the people of Washington, and those people that I introduced a little while are at the top of the list too, I will tell you that. And we will create a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and all of the corruption that's gone on in our country. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, just all I need is the victory. I don't have to be there yet, but the victory. Shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine totally settled. We'll get that settled very quickly. As I said 2 days ago, Biden gave up a lot of secrets about the condition of our country and our military with the ammunition, which is very, very classified, and the cluster bombs going to Ukraine. And just the other day, he announced he's sending thousands and thousands of troops, despite the fact that the U.S. military has been so badly depleted already. We're sending thousands of troops. And the problem is we're in there for almost 200 billion, and Europe is in there for 20 billion. Now, Europe is the same size as us approximately. If you add all the countries, they're approximately the same size as us, as the United States. And why aren't they paying the same amount or more? But they're not. Not a single American mother or father should have to worry that their child will be sent to die in Eastern Europe. And I'll make a deal that's fair for Ukraine and fair for Russia. I mean, we got to make a deal. When I was on this crazy show on CNN, I don't know if anybody got to watch it, the town hall. You know, they supposedly got the highest ratings in 11 years, and they ended up firing the president over it. So we must have done well. They fired the president. It's supposed to be the opposite. You get your highest ratings, and they should give him a raise, right? But this conflict has to end. And when I'm president, it will be done very quickly, I believe in 24 hours. Now, somebody like Ron DeSantis cannot do it because he's owned and controlled by the globalist establishment who always puts America last. We all saw how quickly DeSantis reversed himself on Ukraine. You know, it's funny, the other day they were doing a straight news show, and they said, and ladies and gentlemen, we have Ron DeSantis here. And they screamed, no, it's DeSantis, you know. So that's called good branding. They can't even get his name right. The guy's introducing him as DeSantis. I love that. By the way I feel about him, just so you know, because it's a very personal meeting, it's decided we have nothing to do, right? We have nothing to do. But the way I feel, I got him elected. They'll tell you that. He was dead. He was losing to Adam Putnam by a margin, like 30 points, some massive margin. It was over. Putnam had 30 million. He had no money. He came to see me. He said, he's looking for a job as a lawyer or something. Pizza parlor, lawyer, and he'll take anything. He begged me to endorse him. I said, listen, if I'm Abraham Lincoln, if I'm Lincoln and Washington together, we gave you a joint endorsement, you can't win, you two. For no, sir, if you endorse me in the state of Florida, they love you in Florida. If you endorse me, I'll win. And he helped me on impeachment hoax number 1 and 2 a little bit. Not nearly like a great Jim Jordan or any of those guys, but, you know, he was one of 175 congressmen, because about 175 would go on television. And I'd see him on television a little bit, so he was fighting. And I didn't know Putnam. So I said, you know what, Ron, let's give it a shot. So I said, give me something you'd like. He gave it to me. I thought it was terrible. I rewrote it. And he went up like a rocket ship. He went up so fast, and he ended up winning the primary very shortly thereafter in a landslide. Then he had to get the guy who, as you know, was a crackhead. But at the time, they thought he was the next great president. He was going to be a president of the United States, a handsome guy. He was going to be the president of the United States. And by the way, I will take Byron over this guy. This was not a good representative. This was not a good representative, Byron. But he was a handsome guy, looked good, spoke well, everything was good, and pretty much unbeatable. Him and Stacey Abrams, she was the hottest woman, he was the hottest man. They were going to have a great future. Didn't work out that way. But they took him, and Ron said, I don't think I can beat him. I said, you'll beat him. I did 3 rallies, thousands and thousands. You know the rallies, they're the greatest. We're starting the rallies again now. But the rallies are the greatest. And we had 3 of them, and he ends up winning. And he said, I won. I said, yeah, I told you you're going to win. Then 3.5 years later, they scream out a question to him. Will you run against the president? Will you run against him? He goes, I have no comment. I said, no comment? That son of a bitch is going to run against me. I got him elected. So if anybody has any questions as to why I take it a little personally, I do take that a little personally. I know I'm not supposed to. You know, a lot of pro-politicians, they say, don't ever tell a story like that. People don't care about loyalty. I said, I think they do care about loyalty, okay? I actually do. But I'm the only one that can make this promise. It's a big promise, especially for you in this room, because you're young and you have a big life ahead of you. I will prevent World War III. We're going into World War III. This whole thing about sending troops, there's going to be a point at which it's not going to be stopped. To stop the destruction of our national wealth, I will impose a border tariff on all foreign-made goods, everything coming into our country. They're ripping our country, and we're not going to let. We want our products made in American factories by American workers in Florida and other states. And I will also pass what we'll call the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means that if China is charging us 100% for something, we will charge them 100% for something. If they're 150, we will charge. Right now, they charge us 100. Now, I built it up because we took in billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from China with the tariffs I put on. They want to take them off so badly, but they don't have the courage to do it because politically, I think it would be disaster. But more importantly, financially for us, it would be a disaster. I saved the steel industry. The people that love me the most are the steel people because you wouldn't have a steel industry right now. So if we had a war against China, we'd have to get our steel from China. Does that work? I don't think so. We need some tanks. We need steel. Let's get it from China. Now, we saved the steel industry. We will gain total independence from China, and we will hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. We will do that in some form, I will immediately terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. Under Biden, other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, mental institutions, and dumping everyone, including the most vicious terrorists in the world, right into the USA. Said I will sign a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Could you imagine 15 years ago having somebody stand up here and say, we will stop child mutilation? Who would ever think of this? Our country is sick. The world is sick, frankly. And I will restore the Trump ban on transgender in the military. I had it stopped, totally stopped, and they approved it. I will not give one penny to any school that has to. If you have a vaccine mandate from kindergarten through college, you don't get anything. You don't get anything. I will also continue my long record of standing up to Big Pharma by creating a special presidential commission to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in childhood diseases, autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and other chronic health problems. Just as I did 4 years, for 4 years we did this, I will fully uphold and support the Second Amendment. Nobody has ever done a job like I've done on the Second Amendment. And I will tell you, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but we defended the Second Amendment like nobody else could have. I will defend innocent life. And nobody's done more than I have. And I will move heaven and earth to fully secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with only paper ballots. And Republicans must compete, and we must win. We have to win. This is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is totally out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together as a menacing and very destructive and quite powerful coalition. Very powerful. Our currency is crashing, and we will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in 200 years. If we lose the world standard in currency, that would be unthinkable. Couldn't have happened 3 years ago. Couldn't have even happened. But it won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have invaded Ukraine. Never, never, ever. And by the way, they didn't. You know, a lot of Democrats even say, I got to say, Trump kept them. They didn't. They didn't even come close. They would have never done it. And China would not have even thought about raiding Taiwan. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we won't let it happen. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. And we will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will drain the swamp once and for all. We made a lot of progress, but it's pretty deep. And in closing, the great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, your vote, we will put America first. We will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Turning Point. And God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you very much.